Hey guys, welcome back. It's me, Gimpy, and I am here with A Wing and a Prayer by LNL Publishing. This is a game about controlling a squadron of bombers during World War II, like most war games, attacking Fortress Europe. Now, this game has a little bit of an interesting history with it. It's designed by a guy named Eric von Rossing, and it was originally a print and play game that was under Berserker Games. But the owner of LNL Publishing tried it. He really liked it. So they worked it out, and LNL published it professionally with their outstanding components, which I gotta say, when it comes to components, LNL doesn't skip. The quality of all the components that come with this game are very excellent. The player aids are great. The map here is a heavy cardstock versus like a light paper that you have in some of your war games. It's got the, I don't know what you would call it, pre-creasing kind of into it, so you don't have to worry about getting that back fold going on. And the player aids have the same thing. That's one thing that I really like about the lock and load games. Like this is one of the player aids that comes with it, and you can see you can fold it either way, and you don't have to worry about it getting creased up on you or not working right. All of their player aids are always like that. Nice heavy cardstock. It will be a little harder to get it to lay flat right out of the box just because it is the heavier cardstock. It's no problem. Just fold it out and kind of press it down, put something on it, or I'm pretty sure most war gamers have a little piece of plexiglass or something like that to take and use with it. Now, the one thing is you want to make sure and get the version 2.2 of the rules and player aids. A gentleman named Tony Costa helped to update those, and it helped streamline the rules and correct just a couple of errors that were going along with the game, so you want to make sure and get those. The player aids can be printed off just like the rules. I went ahead and just printed them off and taped them together so I have it for the game. This works fine for me, but if you want the professional version of it, you can take and go to the link on BGG or the Lock and Load website, contact the Lock and Load. They will mail you the new updated player aid. All you have to do is pay for shipping, which shouldn't be too much since the player aid's paper. They can put that in an envelope and just mail it to you. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's up to you on which way you want to go with it. But this game is similar in the vein of games like B-17, Queen of the Skies, Target for Today, with the exception of it is controlling a squadron instead of the single bomber. I will say you probably have a little more narrative when it comes to the single bomber games. And that's just because, you've got names of your pilot, names of your gunners, stuff like that. It probably a little easier to relate to it. But other than that, very similar when it comes to it. You're getting your targets, you're trying to get bombs on target and get your bomber back. You've got up to your standard of 25 missions that the bombers would have had. Now in this game, it is broken down into years. So 1942 will be the first 5 missions, 43 will be 6 through 13, 44 is 14 through 21, and then 45 is 22 through 25. Now it's real easy for setup. You're going to just take and follow your sequence of play. It's got a little, pre-mission sequence, and you can use this to start your game up. So I've got it set for the start, and I'm going to walk you guys through getting set up for the first mission. You want to make sure and pull out what cards you need. First though, I have taken and just set it up for a 1942 mission, which means I have pulled out all the 1942 blue cards. The red cards are your damaged areas. So all the areas that you can bomb will have a red and a blue card, with the exception of areas that are called major targets. That will be places like Berlin, Paris, your major cities, the places that can be bombed over and over and over again. They will have just a blue card, which does not get removed from the deck. It will just be cycled back through. But say, for example, you're starting here at 1942. You pull out all your blue 1942 cards. You set the rest to the side. and then you'll start running your missions. When you get to 1943, you will take and put in I've got them turned upside down to keep them separate, your 1943 cards, just your blue ones. The red ones come into play if you damage the target halfway. Let me pull up a blue card here so you guys can see it. If you only do half damage to a target, this one, for example, you can get 10 or 5 victory points there in the bottom left. If you get the 5 victory points, you will pull out the blue card and put the red one in, at which point you can see, wait, that's not breast, where's breast? Breast might be one of the ones that is just a blue card. Nope, it's right here. All right, so you can see the second card for breast is a 3 instead of that. So you won't get your full, the best is to destroy it in one run. You get 10 victory points for that one. If not, you destroy it in 2 runs, you would end up getting 8 total for it. 3 for that one, and then 5 for this for doing it the first time. But I'll take and explain a little more on that here in a sec. So you gotta take and get your cards, the ones that you need. I've already pulled out, like I said, my 1942 blues, which I have set to the side here. And following down our line, we've got our mission deck set up, the new fighter types. Your new fighter types will become available down here on your track at turn 7. You get access to P-38s, and at turn 14, you get access to P-51s. Possible for them to come in earlier, but generally it's going to be turn 14. War progress events. Okay, there's a little chart here, and this little table, war progress events. When you hit a turn that has an E on it, 3, 6, 9, 12, every third turn, you will take and roll on this chart before you run your next mission, and it can affect your game. Things like ME-262s arriving early, or P-51s arriving early, gaining, losing victory points, London getting hit with the V2 Vanda weapon. And again, you're going to take and look at your timeline, and that's going to determine what your 2d6 is going to correlate to. So that's just a neat little addition to kind of randomize it up if you're playing, especially through the full 25 missions, which don't take too long. All right, so after we've got that, our war progress track, we're going to do our target for today, which is going to be drawing a card to determine our target location. So let's take, I've already shuffled these up. I'm just going to take and draw a top card, and that is Saint Omer. Okay, looking at this card, it shows us that it has a 14 flak level. Its difficulty rating is a 0. The destruction value on it is a 5. We can get 10 or 5 victory points depending on how badly we destroy it. We can take 6 bombers and 6 escorts with us. So we're going to take and set this card right here in our active mission box. And we look on our map and find Saint Omer, which is here. Oh, okay, this is good. This is actually very close. Oh, this will work. It's still close enough to take and show you guys exactly how the game works, so we'll stick with it. So we see our target, and we can take and go any direction we want to get to our target. Generally, you want to go your shorter route, but especially when you start getting into these later target areas, you're going to want to consider what areas put you through the least amount of flak. The flak icon on the boxes, each time you go through one of those, you're going to have to roll for potential flak and what type of damage your planes are receiving. So you want to avoid that, and the more boxes you go through, the more likely it is that you're going to run into enemy fighters, and the chance of running into enemy fighters goes up the farther you get out as well. Not to mention, your escorts can only go so far. The P-47s that you start with as an escort can only go out 6 boxes away from the home base before they have to turn around and head back. However, there are boxes like this one here and another one over here, the ones that have the 4 interceptor type aircraft on them that represent areas that you can take and rendezvous for more escorts. At that point, you would roll on the escort table and pick up new escorts, and your old ones would be gone. So that's one thing you want to consider. With us, It really doesn't matter. St. Omer, if I don't know, St. Omer, we're going with that. It's 2 boxes away regardless for us, so we're just going to take and fly directly over England, straight to Omer, and back, and head that direction. So we've got our target, and now we're going to determine cloud cover for it and assign bombers cruise coordinate. I'm going to take and go to the other charts for this part of it, so I can zoom in on the charts and explain those really quickly. Before we do, just because I got my dice tray here, I will take and roll for our cloud cover, which will be 2 to 6 clear, 7 to 9 light, and 10 to 12 will be heavy. We want clear if at all possible. So we got snake eyes. That's what I'm talking about right there. So our cloud cover will be clear. All right, you guys give me a sec. I'm gonna pan over to our squadron briefing chart and show you guys that real quick. All right, this here is our squadron briefing chart. This is where you're gonna keep your bombers in between missions, keep track of your victory points during a mission, and then your entire campaign total on your victory points. Now, you start off with 12 B-17 G, or was it F, B-17F bombers. The top left yellow number is its air-to-air combat. The bottom left number is its performance, the white number. The bottom right green number is its structure, so its hull, its integrity, and its top right number is its bombing value. So it does fairly good bombing. And then if you flip it over, that's its damage side, and you can see it does have reduced stats at that point. You can upgrade later into the B-17Gs, which have a little bit better stats. Also, you're going to take and draw a random crew. There's a bunch of crew markers you can draw from. You're going to start with 9 green, 2 veteran, and 1 crack. There are optional rules for taking and rolling off on which ones you're going to take. I just went with the standard for this mission. Your green crew members will have varied stats. You can see these. The colors correlate exactly to the same that they do on the bombers, air, performance, and bombing. The crew does not have a structure rating as they are not an airplane. But the green crew is blank on the back because when they upgrade to a veteran crew, which is the gray one here. And you can see the veteran crews are going to have bonuses that will help your aircraft. And then when they upgrade, you can see you just flip the counter over, and that's called a crack crew, and they have even better stats. So we looked at our card. Let me grab it up here. You can see that we have 6 bombers and 6 escorts. This being 1942, the very early part of it, we have no choice but to take our P-47s. So we will grab up 6 P-47s. I'll set them right here for now as I gather up the rest of my stuff. 6 B-17s, and we're going to grab up 6 crews. I haven't assigned any of them to bombers yet. I'll do that when I get over there to the formation chart, but I'm going to go ahead and take my crack crew, my 2 veteran crews, and I'll take 3 green crews. So that right there is good to go. I've got my setup of what I'm taking. The rest of these will stay in the ready box. Make sure that you keep these separate from the others when they come back, because there are optional rules for rolling for landing and repairing damaged bombers, replacing destroyed bombers, things of that nature, and you need to know when they're coming back. And you want to make sure to put those in the not ready box if they are damaged. Only other thing I've got over here is the Lady Luck counters. Those are random counters that you can get that can give potential bonuses. For example, this one has ignore any damage or reduction result. So if you're lucky enough to get one of those, you can use the counter to cancel some damage that's going to happen. Your victory point trackers, you can see, have +1, -1 on it, and then there, if you get up high, it has a marker for +10, and that goes the same for your campaign victory point tracker as well. Now give me a sec, I'm going to switch over to the formation card, and we're going to set up our aircraft for our bombing run. All right, this is your formation card. This is where you're going to keep track of your bombers during your actual bombing run, and also your escorts. Any interceptors that attack you, right there at the top, that's where they'll be put, any enemy fighters, and down here at the bottom is where your escorts will go. Right here is just so you see your marker for light clouds and heavy clouds is on the back. That 6+ and 5+ is what you need to roll. We got lucky with the no or clear skies. That gives us a 4+, and that I will explain when we take and actually do our bombing run, but this is a very good thing. I'll start with our escorts here. Like I said, we've got 6. They'll take and go down here in our escort box, and the only other thing that we need to do is roll on our aces table when we get our escorts. This is the number of aces that you get to take with you. You'll also roll on this table if you happen to have enemy fighters come after your bombers to see if or how many aces they'll have. Right here we've got 5 to 7. We have 6 escorts, so we're going to roll along this chart and it'll tell us how many that we have. So let me take and grab my little die here. See what we roll. We got a 3. A 3 will give us 1 ace. So let me grab one of my aces. And this is an ace pilot that you get to attach to one of your escort planes. And I'll set him down here with the rest on top of one of my escorts. Now I've gone ahead and set the bomber crews out on here with a crew attached to, or the bombers with their crews attached to them. There's your lead element, high element, low element, tail element. Now you can't take and just put bombers wherever you want. You have to start from the front and work your way back, and you can't, for example, put 2 and then another 2 and then another 2. Once you start to fill an element, you need to fill it all the way before you take and start trying to fill another element. It's fine if you don't have enough bombers to fill an entire element, but you just need to fill one completely before you move on to the next. Do keep in mind, if you're running a mission and you are short bombers, that it does cost you a victory point per bomber that you're short. So if, for example, I only had 5 ready bombers, I would start with a -1 on this due to that. Now that's the only, is there anything else? Yeah, everything else we'll take and cover during that. Oh, that was the one thing I want to make sure I mentioned. Here at the front, you want to make sure and put your best pilot crew. As you can see, I put my crack crew right there at the front because their bomber rating, their bomb rating will definitely help you out when you actually make your bombing run, since historically they were the ones that were, the lead bomber was the one that was making the decision and calling the mark for the rest of the bombers in the squadron. You definitely want your best crew right there up front. All right, let me pan back to our map and we will get started. All right, we're ready to start our mission. I've backed the camera out as far as I could go to try to give you as good a view as I can of everything that's going on, as much of the formation table and the pertinent parts of the map that I can get into screen. When I am hitting any specific parts, though, I'll make sure and take and pan into those parts. Now you're going to start up here in England at the 8th Air Force Base, and you've got your mission marker here, and it shows that your formation starts tight. You want to keep it tight as much as possible. If you're loose, it does make it easier for enemy aircraft to take and damage you, or for your bombers to be hurt by other events that can happen on your bombing run. Now, like I said, you're going to pick your path towards your target, and you can pick whatever path you want to go, but you got to remember you have to go there and back to your home base. So you have to consider how far your escorts can go, how much flak is in between you and your target, your ultimate end target, all the things that, you know, real bomber crews would have to consider when they were running their missions. Now, we got lucky on our first pull. We're right here at the front, so we're only 2 boxes away. So we're only going to have 1 event check between us and Saint Omer, whatever, and more than likely won't have too many bad things happen to us, but it's possible. We'll see what happens with it. So we're going to take our marker, we're going to move it up 1. I'm going to just take and fly directly over England. and directly down to it. And as you go on your little sequence of play, you're going to move and then lead bomber and formation adjustment. What that has to do with is if your lead bomber is taken out for some reason, you're allowed to take and readjust your bomber formation at that point to put another bomber and crew in the lead bomber formation position, so you have a chance to get that bonus when you come to your bombing run. Now, loose formation check, again, that's a chance for you to tighten your formation up if it's gotten loose. Damaged aircraft check, if some of your aircraft have become damaged, it's a possible chance for them to fall out of formation and no longer be part of your squadron, like on the bombing run. So there's a check involved with that. Right now, all of our bombers are completely fine, so we don't have to worry about that. Escort fighter range, we're good. You do keep track on the left side of the map. Over there is a little track where you move your fighter icon along with you. Like I said, P-47s have 6, but we're only going 1, 2, 3, and then back to base. So we're fine as far as that's concerned. Escort rendezvous, we're not rendezvousing with anyone right now. Flak sight, flak are these flak gun symbols that are on the map. Anytime you go across one of those, you have to conduct a flak sight check. Now the formation event check, this one is on this chart, and this is where you're going to have the random type events happening to you. Oh, here we go. This is on the new 2.2 player aid, and what you're going to do is you're going to look how far away you are from the 8th Air Force Base, and you're going to roll on that chart. So for example, I'm only 1 square away, so I'm going to roll here, and that's going to affect what could possibly happen. Systems trouble, get Lady Luck icons, which are good. The weather could change, formation check, and enemy fighters. This is where you're going to run into those. We don't have any chance of running into those since we're so close to England at this point. So let's roll 2d6 and see what we get. We got 4. A 4 is a Lady Luck icon. All right, so we're going to draw one of those, and we'll take and set this down here for later use if we need it. And that is the ignore any damage or reduction result. So if one of our bombers ends up getting hurt by flak, we can take and use that to prevent the damage coming through. That's actually a good thing. Now we continue on with our play. We would take and conduct any air combat at this point. If we were engaged with interceptors, we're not, and then you would go to repeat the step. So we're going to take and move again. We have now moved into our target area. Once you move into your target area, you're going to take and go down into your actual conduct your bombing run step of everything. I jotted myself a little note down here for what little steps, but your basic gist is going to be your approach flak check, your bombing run, and then your egress flak check. So you're going to get shot at by flak twice. It's not cool, but it happens. I'll tell you what, since we're already here, I'm going to take and zoom the camera in a little bit on our bombers themselves, because they're the ones that are more likely to get messed up at this point in the game with the flak that's going to come in. Now, if we look here on our card, the flak rating is a 14, okay? So we're going to take and look at our player aid here, and you're going to go up to 14, and we have 6 bombers, so you're going to go over to 6, and that's a 3. That means each bomber is going to roll 3 dice and take, and any 6s will cause a hit. All right, after we see which bombers get hit, then I'll take and show you guys how that part works. Now, I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but I would suggest keeping a bunch of other D6s around for your bombing run, because you will need more than just the 2 that came with the game, but not very often. So we have 3 D6s for each one of our bombers. One other thing that I do that's not mentioned in the game is I have just some random tokens from a separate game. This is, actually, put it in the comments if you know what game this is from. Any tokens of work, doesn't matter. You're supposed to take and do each one individually. What I do is I roll my 3 attacks for each bomber. So I'll do 3 attacks, 3 attacks, 3 attacks, you know, on down the line. And I'll just mark each bomber with however many hits that it got, and then go back and roll for possible damage. That way I'm doing all the potential hits, all the potential damage, and not losing track of where I'm at. I find that works a little better for me. If it doesn't, you can do it your own way. So we're gonna take and roll 3 dice. Any 6s are hits. 1 6. So I'll take and mark this bomber. I go right to left on each element. We're going on our leader. Look at that. Look at that. You gotta be kidding me. Oh, I can never roll 6s except when I'm rolling for flak. I swear I am all about 6s when it's flak time. Okay, that one got missed. All right, so we're on to our 4th bomber down here. And look at that, all 4. My lead bomber is the only one that got hit with 2. This one. 1. 1's not bad, I can deal with 1. And last one. 1. All right, 1 flak hit isn't bad. 1 flak hit actually can't hurt a B-17, and I'll show you why here in just a sec. So we've got our hits marked down. We've got 1, 2, and then 1 and 1 on our bombers. What you're gonna do, wrong chart, is you're going to look here on your flak damage table. And the way this works is for each hit, you roll a D6, add the number together, and then you subtract the structure rating, which for a B-17 is 4. So you, for example, this one, you're gonna take and roll 1 D6, and you're gonna subtract 4 from it, and then you're gonna compare it to this chart. Now, the reason I say 1 hit can't damage them is 2 or less is no effect. On 1 D6, the most you can roll is a 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. So all these single hits, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull off because there's no need to roll for them. They will all be no effects, all right? The only one we have to worry about is this one. So we will take and roll 2 D6s. We will subtract 4 from it, and that will be what that lead bomber got damaged with. 8 goes to 4. 4 is light damage, so we're going to roll again 1 D6. If it's a 1 to 3, no effect. If it's 4 to 6, then it's damaged. And then we have to roll again for potential dropout. So we're hoping for a 1 to 3 here. 3, we are good. Okay, no damage. So we ended up getting lucky on that one. Big time, we were potentially going to lose our bomber. So we are good on that phase. Now we do our bombing phase, okay? And the way that works is we're gonna use the same chart, and what we do is we add up all of our bombing numbers for all of our bombers and get a number on this chart. So a B-17 has a natural bombing rating of 4, that top right red number. We've got 3 in each element, so that's 12 plus whatever our crews have. And this one is a +1, so that's 13. And then there's a +2 and a +1 up there, so that's 15. So that gets us 28 total bombing rating for our bombers. So we look here on our chart, we scroll up to 28, and that comes across to a 7. However, we can shift the thing. We lose 2 rows if we're loose, which we're not, and it's also minus the target's difficulty rating. Remember, our target difficulty rating is a 0. That top center target number there is 0. So we don't have to worry about that, but we do get a bonus for our lead bomber crew's bomber rating. That's why I said you want to have your best bomber there in that lead position. Thankfully, they ended up coming out of that flak okay. So we get to actually move up 2 rows from where we originally were. We would have had 7 dice, but we're actually going to have 8 dice. All right. Now the way this works is the cloud cover determines what we need to hit. Luckily we have a cloud cover of clear, so we need 4s or better. So we roll 8 dice and all 4s are hits, and then we compare that on our damage chart, which I'll show you guys here in a sec. So it's 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got our little stack of dice. This is the one part where you're rolling a bunch of dice and you want to fling those dice. So have those extra D6s ready for the game. All right. 4 or better, 4 or better. Come on. Oh, ooh, this looks good. Okay, this looks good. We should have them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We got 6 hits on target. I think we destroyed it. So let's take and come down here to our target damage table. We look at 6. Oh, let me pull this up. Our destruction rating is that top right number, which is actually a 5. I was thinking 6, but it's actually 5, so that's even better. We definitely destroyed it. So you go across to whatever the destruction number is. Ours was a 5, and then you look, bam, 5 plus, we got 6 hits. It is fully destroyed, and we receive full VP, and the blue and red card come out of the deck. So this target isn't going to come up anymore. Saint Omer has been blown into the ground. So we are completely done with them. Let me move my victory point track up to 10. Since we got 10 points there, that is excellent. And pan ourselves back out because we are good now. A little back over. And now at this point, we have to do our Flak Egress on our way out, okay? The Flak Egress changes. I had it written down over here somewhere. If your target is destroyed, your flak level goes down. So it actually becomes light, which is 8 instead of 14. So we're going to compare on that chart a flak level of 8 versus our 6 bombers. We're going to scroll over. 6 is still 2 dice. Good God, we need a lower level than that. So they're still rolling 2 dice against us on our bombers. I came over just a little bit early, but that's all right. Move the camera back for you guys. We will take and roll our 2 dice again for each one of our bombers. Same thing, bomber going across, and any 6s are hits. All right, none there for our first bomber. Our lead bomber is nothing. He lucked out. Third bomber is nothing. Fourth bomber is nothing. Fifth bomber, snake eyes, nothing. And last bomber. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. I was like, all right, we're gonna smoke right through this. And then this one takes 2 hits. So we'll take and do our flak damage table again. We're gonna roll 2 dice, subtract our structure level of 4. Watch me lose a bomber as I'm heading out. All right, again, we got 8. So we subtract that, gets us to our light damage right there. So we're gonna roll 1d6. Hopefully a 1 to 3, 1 to 3, baby. No, 6. So now our bomber is damaged. So we have to flip him over. It's a good thing that happened now because you can actually see on the back of the counter that it does reduce its ratings. It only would have had a bombing rating of 2 rather than the 4 that we had. So we are now damaged, and we have to take and roll 1 more time and to see if the bomber drops out of formation, which isn't going to affect us horribly because we're heading back to base at this point anyway. Oh, roll that in there. 4, so he does drop out. And we'll just pull him right back there. But no big deal, because we're heading back anyway, and our little bombing run is done. So at this point, wherever your little target is, which ours is right here, you will take and continue doing the same procedure you did on the way there. You'll move back, and you'll still take and roll for events that could possibly come up. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna use this little Lady Luck token that I forgot I had and bring that little bomber back, so all of them come back. Yay, all my bombers made it. But you'll take and roll again on your events chart for anything that could possibly come up. Since you're so close here, you're not gonna have interceptors, so I'm not gonna worry about rolling on the way back in. There is a optional landing chart. Which one is that on? I have to look to find it. I never remember what all the, okay, here it is. There is an optional rule for landing if you want to do it when your bombers make it all the way back to the Air Force Base. That's up to you if you want to use that rule. I don't think it's a bad one, because it's not very likely, but it does pay to have your crews upgraded to get the extra performance. Now here, if you're doing a long campaign, you could take and roll for upgrading your crews. There's actually an optional rule for taking, and if one of your bomber crews shoots down an enemy interceptor, that the crew automatically gets to roll for potential upgrade at that point. Green counter would be exchanged for a random veteran. A veteran would be just flipped over to crack. And at this point, any of your bombers that were damaged would go into the not ready pool, and there is a chart again to roll on, just like everything else, for bomber replacements. Replacing the destroyed ones, getting the ones from the not ready section back up to the ready section. And at that point, you've completed mission 1. You'd advance your turn tracker, add your points over to your cumulative campaign, and then you just keep going. You can see you'll have, a handful of 1942 cards, but then when you get up to turn 6 and you're adding in the 1943, you have the potential to have already removed 5 of these cards out of the deck, and then keep doing that. It's just, I love that, the fact that the deck is going to consistently change between the areas that you destroyed, the areas that you've partially destroyed, so the flak ratings are going to go down, the areas that you've hurt, and then the farther out that you get, you're going to be running into more and more enemy fighters. The chance for that happening gets greater and greater, and then with those guys, you have the potential to run into multiple different types, which also have a chart to roll on. You can see you've got your BF-109s, your Focke-Wulfs, your ME-262, which is the jet, which can happen later, and then your ME-110s. So you have multiple different types of enemy fighters that you can run into. They can have aces. I gotta say, all in all told, the game is awesome. I've had a good time with it. It's not hard. Yes, the rules did have a little jankiness there at the beginning, but once you've got them down pat, the rules really aren't hard. It is simply like Silent Victory, Queen of the Skies, other games in that ilk where you're making your decisions. You're trying to outfit your whatever it is, your squadron, your bomber, your submarine, as best as you can, and make the best choice you can to accomplish your mission with the least amount of damage to your guys. This game, it does well at it, and I love the fact that it goes up to the entirety of the war, but your 25 missions that you're going to run as a bomber. I do like the fact, where are my other B-24s, that you do have the option to run. Let me pull out one of the counters so you guys can see it. Your B-24, this is the upgraded version, B-24H, and you can see the stats are a little bit different. The regular version would have a 3 in its air combat, so it'd be 3, 3, 3, and then 4 on the bomber rating. But the upgraded ones are silver, just like with the B-17s. But you do have the option to use those if you want. I know some guys are historically based and aren't going to want to use B-24s with 8 Air Force, but it's alright. It's your game. Play it however you want. But I will say, game is GIMP approved. The components are nice. If you do want nothing but the absolute best components, do make sure and